Hey there, and welcome back to Temporary Locals.
I'm Jared.
And I'm Megan. This week we have a guest coming back on who is going to take us to three countries in Southeast Asia. We're going to Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand. But before we get into that, for those who don't know, Jared and I are a travel loving couple who somehow always end up feeling like locals everywhere we go. From small towns to some of the world's most iconic wonders, we share our stories, hidden gems, and occasional history or true crime that shape the places that we've actually been. So if you're into travel, storytelling, or a little bit of mystery, then you're in the right place. And we'd love it if you'd subscribe and join us for the ride. All right. So today we are going to have on Matthew Hashuga. We had him on episode 28 to talk about his trip to Antarctica. That's a really great episode. If you haven't heard of that before, check that out. Matthew, he's a detective by trade, and when he's not working, he is usually globetrotting and traveling with a deep love for history and culture. So we are really excited to have him back on, and we'll get into the episode.
Let's go. Thanks for coming back on, Matt. We appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah. So you just spent like 3 weeks in Southeast Asia?
Yes. I did about a week in Vietnam, a week in Cambodia, and about a week in Thailand.
Wow. And out of those three countries, they're all in the same area of the world, Southeast Asia, but what are the real differences you noticed throughout those three different countries?
Big differences in the language, differences in the currency. Right now, Cambodia and Thailand don't get along. Vietnam and Cambodia is kind of hit or miss. And Vietnam and Thailand get along. So it was interesting going from one country to the other. And just kind of getting to talk to some of the people and their feelings on a lot of the things that are going on.
Yeah, we've kind of mentioned that before. I think when that whole border dispute was kind of kicking off with Thailand and Cambodia back, a couple months ago when it really was getting kind of heavy over there. And it was really unfortunate to me because I love both those places. And it's just unfortunate, because
Yeah.
the people in those countries are really spectacular people. I mean, everybody that goes to Southeast Asia tells you how kind the people are, and it's just unfortunate when governments, can't get along and it affects the people of those countries. So,
Yeah, that's exactly it. And yeah, you're absolutely right. In every country, I felt welcomed. I felt safe. The people were incredible.
Well, last time you were on, we talked about Antarctica. So, for anyone listening, if you want to hear that episode, let's walk through how you kind of traveled through those countries. Like, you started in Vietnam, I think?
I did, yeah. I flew out of Philly through Chicago, Tokyo, and landed in Hanoi. And I spent a few days in Hanoi, in Vietnam. And then I had a domestic flight from Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh City, and I had a few days in Ho Chi Minh City. I'm sorry, between Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, I did Ha Long Bay, and then I had my domestic flight. And then from Ho Chi Minh City, I took a bus across the border into Cambodia, into Phnom Penh. And I was in Phnom Penh I think I was only there for 2 nights. And then took another bus to Siem Reap. And
mhm.
I was in Siem Reap, I think, four, 4 or 5 nights. That was probably the longest part of the trip. And then I had a flight from Cambodia into Thailand. And Siem Reap, they have an airport that's relatively new. It was incredible because you go into any of our big airports and you look at the board and it's filled with flights, incoming and outgoing. And in Siem Reap, there was like three. It's just this enormous airport, and there's like nobody there. I guess it is relatively new, and they're still trying to get more flights in and out.
Mhm.
Wow, that's cool. I've never been to an airport that was like, recently built.
Yeah, it was. It's kind of like going to like one of the malls around here in central Pennsylvania. It's this big building with people working, and no one's there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think as far as Cambodia goes, I was looking at wanting to fly into Siem Reap, because as I said, Angkor Wat is kind of the main reason I would want to go. But I've also heard people say, and it is cheaper to fly into Phnom Penh. So, but what do you think of Phnom Penh? Is it worth seeing and spending a few days there?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not gonna be fun. Phnom Penh was sad. Just the history and everything that went on there.
Hmm.
And I've read about it. I've seen the film that was out in the '80s, and I've read 3 books about the Khmer Rouge, and actually seeing Phnom Penh and that wasn't that long ago. So a lot of the people are still around, and it's still fresh to these people. And
Yeah.
just seeing how far that city has come in a short amount of time. I'd imagine that if things didn't happen the way they did in the '70s and the '80s, that Phnom Penh would probably be more like Bangkok, because it's a big city. It was like 14 million people.
Hmm.
Incredibly big city.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
For any,
would. If you're going to Cambodia, I would. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't spend a lot of time there, but even a day or two, you can see a lot and absorb a lot.
yeah. Yeah. And so for anybody that's listening at home that may not really know any of the history, the Khmer Rouge was Pol Pot was the dictator, and he was responsible for killing a few million Cambodians, correct? And
It
now
was
they
about
have
a
the
third
death
of the
shields.
entire population.
Yeah. And so, but I've heard that Phnom Penh now is really kind of a dichotomy in that it's there's a lot of very sad history that goes along with it, but they have areas like Pub Street and places like that that are very lively and almost remind you of Bangkok in a way. So, I mean, did
Yeah,
you kind
yeah,
of get that? Yeah.
I did. It was it's a young city, uh, and an old city, kind of all at the same time, if that makes sense. And it's been built up quite a bit, in a short amount of time.
Yeah. And so did you went to the killing fields and the museum and all that?
I did, yeah, yeah.
And what was that like?
Somber. Uh,
Mm,
I thought I was like knew what to expect when I got there, and it's sad. It's to see it, the reality of it. I don't know if anybody can really prepare for that. You can read about it as much as you want, and then to go there and actually talk to some of the survivors, who lived through it. Um, yeah, it's a different situation. And the
mhm,
prison, the
Those
prison, the prison was about a half a block from the hotel I was staying in. I could actually see it from the room I was staying in, and it was before it was a prison. It was one of the biggest schools in Phnom Penh that they then converted into a prison, and it's a really sad history there. Which they've turned it into a museum. And they've preserved it. From what I was told, everything pretty much looks the same way it looked back when it was in use.
mhm.
For those who might not be familiar, what are the killing fields?
Well, that's
The
where they
killing
killed a bunch of Cambodians. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. I mean, just mass graves that they unearthed. Some of the graves might have had 40 people, 60 people. Some of them had 100 and some people. And the craters that remain from the graves are still there, and all of the bones that they had exhumed from the graves are actually in a mausoleum right in the center of the field. Um, so it's kind of like a monument or a proper burial, I guess, for the victims who they unearthed there.
Mhm.
So is it like was there like a museum or something there and then you go tour the fields, or when you get there, like what's it
It's
like?
it's not really a museum. It's the fields, and there's different there's signs along the way that kind of explain what was where, and different things that happened, or in the pits that they had exhumed the bodies from, explanations of what they found, how many people they had found. and different things like that. And there was a small, like a little theater where they showed like a 15-minute film that kind of rehashed everything as well.
Hmm. And so also kind of along those lines, there, as far as like the history behind Cambodia and some of the stuff that happened there, I know landmines are a big issue there. Did you ever feel in danger or anything? Because there's still landmines all over the country, especially in the, rural areas. I mean, did they tell you not to go certain places or anything like that?
That's No, I didn't run into any of that. I know there's a lot of issues in the northern part of the country toward the border, but in Phnom Penh and Siem Reap, which were the two areas that I visited in Cambodia, they're pretty well taken care of. I mean, I think that's like the biggest draw to the country. They really do, want to open it up to people visiting and experiencing the culture. So there wasn't much danger in those areas. Now I would imagine if you get, farther outside of the city, it would probably be an issue. But I didn't run into any of that personally.
Yeah.
Did you visit the Landmine Museum?
I did not.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if you saw this or not, but I see that they're actually using rats to try to detect landmines over there now.
I did see that. In fact, it was one of the things I couldn't fit into my itinerary, but I did talk to some people who did go and see the rats and uh, yeah, they kind of explained everything and told me. But I guess they had the one rat is actually in the Guinness Book of World Records
Uh-huh.
for finding the most landmines out of any other rat.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the idea is they're not heavy enough to actually set the landmine off, and so they use these rats to go around, and they can walk across them and detect them. So, yeah,
That is cool.
It,
yeah, it
it
is.
is, yeah. They're intelligent animals. That's no doubt.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us about, just like the few days that you spent in Cambodia, and then we'll go back, to Vietnam. We're kind of going out of order, but
Sure. No, I really I enjoyed Cambodia. I liked Siem Reap. Besides the temples and Angkor Wat was it didn't disappoint. It's an amazing complex. You could spend a day there. The Ta Pra, which they call that the Tomb Raider Temple, has all the vines
Yep.
growing on it. That was amazing too. Just with how quickly the nature can overtake something.
Uh-huh.
They're still like kind of rebuilding parts of that complex. And Angkor Thom, where Bayon Temple, massive temple with all the faces. That was you had mentioned about the dinosaur carving. I did see that. It
Uh-huh.
was pointed out to me, and yeah, absolutely was a triceratops carved into the stone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of those things that they try to explain away. It's an ox or something with like rocks behind it or what. But
Yeah,
to me, I look at it and I see it's a dinosaur, carved in the stone. What eight, however many hundreds of years before we discovered dinosaurs. So I just think
yeah,
that's really
yeah.
interesting. And yeah,
It
so
was. Yeah. But
but
yeah, that whole area, Siem Reap, that city's going from Phnom Penh of like 14 million people to Siem Reap, which is around 250,000. It's a big difference. It was just very laid back, uh, very relaxed area. The food was really good, and everything was. It made it a lot easier. They did like American currency. I mean, they used the real, and I still can't even figure out what the exchange rate was because it was ridiculous, like 160,000 real to $1 or something like that. But they had everything marked in US dollars, and
mhm,
like I know one night I think it was like a 14 or a 16-ounce fillet with salad, potatoes. There was some garlic and a drink. It was like $9 total.
yeah,
9.
$9, yeah, and that was probably one of my more expensive meals while I was there. Everything
Yeah, I
was
was gonna
really,
say
really affordable.
$9 actually seems kinda more expensive than I would have expected. I know at one time, Cambodia, I think, was the cheapest country you could visit.
Yeah, it was cheap. Like the tuk-tuks, they'd want like $1 or $2 to pretty much go anywhere in the city, and they'll wait for you to take you wherever you
Yeah.
want to go, and they'll stick around. So it was, yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time there. That's definitely somewhere I would go back. It just other than the long flight, it was really affordable.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned tuk-tuks because it's probably my favorite th part of being in a Southeast Asian country is just getting a tuk-tuk. It's just so much fun. It's just, like, such a part of the culture, and it's, like so how far away from the actual Angkor Wat complex were you in Siem Reap, and then how did you get to Angkor Wat? Did you get a tuk-tuk?
I didn't take a tuk-tuk tank or walk because I was with a group of, I think there was maybe around 10 people. So it was like a smaller bus, but pretty much anywhere else I was going was with tuk-tuk. And Angkor
Uh-huh.
Wat was, I think it was maybe about 5 miles away from, it's not far from the city center, but far enough.
Right. Yeah, because 'cause I've often thought about, like, well, where would we stay in Siem Reap? And then I'm like, could we just walk to Angkor Wat? And then I'm like, well, getting a tuk-tuk would be cool, and I'm, assuming it's a lot like Thailand where you can just walk out your hotel or
Yeah, there's
hostel
five
or
of them
wherever you're
there.
staying. Yeah, they're there,
Yeah, yeah,
so
and they'll take you anywhere you want to go. If it was just me, and on a lot of things that I did on my own or just with one or two other people, yeah, it was always tuk tuk. Even just like when I first got into town, I didn't really have any idea of what I wanted to do or where to go, so I just went out, talked to the tuk tuk driver, and said, well, "How about just take me around for like an hour and a half?" Yeah.
yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, okay, $2." So I was like, "Yeah, fair enough."
Yeah, I remember the first thing I did when I got to Thailand, from the airport, we got a tuk-tuk, and I remember being because you have to, and I've heard people tell me since then that, like, they don't even allow tuk-tuks at the airport to actually pick people up. I don't know if you experienced that or not, but,
I didn't take
it's the best way.
notice.
Yeah,
It's like every other airport. As soon as you get out toward the exit, everybody's like coming at you, trying to give you a ride somewhere.
right. So how was Angkor Wat? Was it busy? Because I've seen photos and videos where there's tons of people there. You can't even barely move. And then I've seen other times where it seems like there's very few people there. So how was that?
So I went there early in the morning, and I mean, there were people there, but it wasn't incredibly busy. I was able to, get some really good photos. And see everything, and I wasn't being rushed by anyone, and I didn't have to really wait for anyone to get out of my way. So yeah, it wasn't bad at all. I don't know if it was the time of year or the time of day, but
Yeah.
it wasn't.
Were you there for sunrise? I know a lot of people go for the sunrise.
I wasn't there for the sunrise or the sunset. I was there shortly after sunrise, so I missed that. And it was getting pretty warm out. It was like 97 degrees, I believe, 96, 97, somewhere around there. So, doing it in the morning before the temps got too hot was uh, probably the best way to go.
Mm-hmm.
How long did you spend there?
At Angkor Wat,
Yes.
uh, 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking, and that was my main like point of kind of staying in Siem Reap is like to go back there multiple days if need be, or at least spend a full day there because I
Yeah,
know it's a
yeah,
giant complex. There's a ton to see there, so it's one of those
yeah,
things you don't really want to rush through.
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think you can do a 3-day pass. Like a 1-day pass is like $25, and a 3-day pass is like $37. So it's best to just get the 3-day pass.
Uh-huh.
and go back as often as you can. Because I mean, even besides Angkor Wat, there's just so many temples there. I don't know if you can see all of them, but I tried to see like the main three.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Ta Prohm is probably the most visually stunning area that I've seen, at least, from photos and stuff, but, yeah, I mean, just the whole complex is amazing, and I know that, like, they say that there's just temples off into the jungle that people don't even know are there, and you could stumble upon them and really feel like you're Indiana Jones, you know?
Yeah, yeah, they're still finding temples.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is cool. But did you feel like that was enough time? 3
Uh,
or 4
I
hours?
it was enough time to see it. It wasn't enough time to, like, take everything in. If I were to do things again, I'd go, if I went back to Siem Reap, I would spend probably just a couple days at Angkor Wat, in and of itself.
Mhm.
Definitely, like, make sure I got there for the sunrise, get there for the sunset, different things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's a moat around the entire, like, the main complex, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I read somewhere that the amount of earth that they moved to create that moat was more than the earth that was used to create the pyramids of Giza.
It is
That's how
a
much.
it's a big moat, yeah.
Yeah.
It almost looks like it'd be, like a small lake.
Yeah. It's crazy that ancient peoples did these kind of things, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
That is very cool.
Yeah. Alright, so that's Angkor Wat. It's kind of a quick summary, but definitely somewhere that I wanna go. It's been on my bucket list for a long time, and, um, yeah, I think Cambodia just sounds incredible, so I'm definitely excited to go there.
Yeah,
But,
we'll probably be looking up flights after our this podcast episode.
Yeah, I
yeah.
I I can't talk Cambodia up enough. I loved it. The food, the people, the history, it was definitely should be on everyone's bucket list.
Yeah. So we'll kind of backtrack a little bit. So take us to Vietnam and kind of tell us a little bit about your trip there and some of the things you did.
Yeah, Vietnam, I wasn't sure what to expect in Vietnam. Hanoi was the first city that I was in, and it's the capital of Vietnam. It's in the north. Uh, and I got to see some cool things. I got to see I don't want to butcher the name, the Howlow prison. It's pretty much always commonly referred to as a Hanoi Hilton. It was
Yeah.
the jail they used for POWs during the war. John McCain had spent time there.
Yep.
It was interesting to see that. It was interesting to see Ho Chi Minh's mausoleum. In fact, right behind Ho Chi Minh's mausoleum is a monument to John McCain. He's like highly regarded in Vietnam. And Ho
Wow.
Chi Minh City's, it's a very conservative city. You could see the French influence throughout the city. It's an older looking city, and I kind of just thought that's what all of Vietnam was going to be like. So, you know, from going from Hanoi to Halong Bay was great. I don't know if you need to spend more than about a day or two there, but it was just impressive. Like, they're trying to build it up as this like beachy resort area, and it got hit real hard with during COVID, and like most of these resorts are just like there and haven't been used in over 5-6 years. So
Hmm.
they're trying to build that back up. The limestone caves, that was really cool to see. I enjoyed my time in Vietnam. The food was good. When I got to Saigon, sorry, Ho Chi Minh City, that's kind of the other interesting thing in Vietnam. They had a huge civil war after the Vietnam American War. And, afterwards, Saigon was renamed Ho Chi Minh City, but in the north, they still refer to it as Ho Chi Minh City, but in the south, they still refer to it as Saigon. Pretty much
Uh-huh.
anyone you talk to, anywhere you go, it's always called Saigon. I really enjoyed my time in Saigon, like, more than I thought I was going to. It was completely different than Hanoi. I mean, it was definitely more of a westernized city, more modern city, uh, and it was a lot of fun. It was I liked walking around and just kinda soaking up the, different parts of the city.
Yeah.
Outside of Saigon, I got to go to Kuchi village and see the tunnels, at least some of the tunnels that were used during the war. And I guess Kuchi was yeah, that was a hot spot or like the unofficial base of the Viet Cong during the war. And there was a lot of action there. So like seeing that history was it was a learning experience. I wasn't sure how I was going to be. I wasn't sure how the people were going to be, being from the United States. But I mean, they were very welcoming. They were happy to talk to me, explain things. Uh, I got to go through the tunnels, which was, incredible in and of itself. And, like they had the one part of the tunnel was sort of like renovated a bit to make them bigger to accommodate more people to go through, but they still had some of the like original tunnels that I had to get down and like crawl through. I got to be honest, I was anxious. I'm not claustrophobic, but a couple times I was like, wow, this is tight.
Yeah.
Mm,
But that
that's
was
cool that
definitely
they let you.
one of the yeah, oh god, yeah, it was one of the highlights of the trip. If anybody goes there, I would definitely say, uh, make your way there.
Mhm.
That was great.
Yeah, I was gonna ask one, and you've already answered these questions, but I was gonna ask if the locals still kind of refer to it as Saigon, and then I was gonna ask kind of how you as an American were perceived. But I mean, I've heard anybody I've talked to that's been there said that everybody's very cool, and it's in the past, and
Yeah,
everybody's
yeah,
kind of yeah.
if they're holding a grudge, they hide it well, because they were incredibly friendly and really, I mean, they fought before the US, they fought with the French. I mean, they were at war for, something like 40 years, without a break. So, like, they're pretty peaceful and happy now.
Right. And so as far as the price of things, I mean, how did it compare to Cambodia?
Vietnam was, it wasn't quite as cheap as Cambodia, but it wasn't much more. It might have been like, I don't know, like, a bowl of pho was about $1.50.
Mhm.
Currency in Vietnam was the dong, and it was sort of hit or miss. Like some places would accept US currency, some places wouldn't, depending on the conditions of the bills. If they weren't like crispy new US bills, they didn't want them. But yeah, it wasn't too hard to exchange money, and everything was reasonably cheap. And like I thought, because I was in Saigon before I got to Cambodia, I thought, oh wow, this is great. Like everything here is cheap. And then when I got to Cambodia, I was like, well, this is really cheap. And then Thailand's kind of more in line with like what our prices are. So then I had like
Mhm.
my dose of reality.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that the street food in Vietnam is just some of the best in the world, and, um, Anthony Bourdain, famous traveler, he when asked if he had to pick one place in the world that he is his favorite place, he said Vietnam, so I think, um, did you get that feeling that the street food there was, like, top notch or
It was, in fact, I mean, most of the time that's what I was eating was the street food, and like it was usually pho, just maybe with seafood one night, wontons the next. But yeah, it was delicious. It was filling, and everything was so fresh. Yeah, I was traveling with a gentleman I met from Manitoba, Canada. He was diabetic, and he had the little sensor on his arm that he has to change every week, and he can check it with his phone. But like he was eating ice cream and pastries and pretty much anything he wanted, and his sugar, he said, it was never lower in his life. So it's definitely the food in the U.S. that is the issue because everything that I had over there was like fresh and just made, and it was all really good.
Right.
Yeah, you hit on, I mean, I was gonna ask you like, how did you feel after eating the food? Because, I think we talked about this when we went to Peru. It was like, just having like, you know, fried rice and chicken. It was like, I just feel so much better walking out of this restaurant than I do like, down the street from our
Yeah,
apartment
yeah,
in the
yep.
US. So,
I felt great, and I do think it was from the food. In fact, like, since I've been home, uh, probably, like, around Thursday or Friday from, like, Western food, I had my son over the weekend, and he wanted McDonald's, so we had McDonald's, and, like, I since Friday night from having McDonald's, like, I just haven't felt great. I'm thinking, "Well, that's it."
Yeah.
the body's like, what are you doing to
Yeah,
me?
that's
Yeah.
exactly yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like we were all meant to live in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I would highly consider retiring to Cambodia. In
Yeah.
fact, I talked to some people who were they were from Australia, so I don't know, it might be different from the US, but I know, like, Thailand did $80,000 for a 20-year visa, which, that's pretty pricey. Cambodia wanted $30,000 for citizenship, and that's little bit more reasonable, especially considering how far like a pension would go in Cambodia as opposed to here. It's probably worth 6 to 10 times as much there.
And you can't own property unless you're a citizen, right?
I don't think you can, yeah, and I'm not even sure if you can own property as like an expat citizen either. I know Thailand, you definitely can own property, but uh, like in Cambodia, renting's pretty cheap, like, for fully furnished apartments and everything. I think they were going for like $500 a month, and these were like newer builds.
Yeah, I know I've heard of people getting around that. Um, I don't really know the ins and outs of it, but people will set up a company or a corporation and somehow put the assets under that instead of their own personal self. They somehow like start a business and then they're able to like buy a house somehow or something. I don't really know how they do it, but people do buy houses over there. It's just, but yeah, I mean, what you're saying is true. It's so much cheaper in that part of the world, and you could retire over there with just very little money, and it wouldn't money that here in the states doesn't get you very far over there. You could probably live off of for the rest of your life.
Yeah, yeah, and live comfortably.
Yeah. Well, and also it's just because of the part of the world you're in, you're living more modestly anyway. So, if you're living in a beautiful place in the world like that, you're not concerned about having the biggest, like most expensive TV or the nicest car. I mean, you're living like more naturally, I guess, in a way is kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And cars, I mean, everybody over there is driving scooters, so
yeah, I'd be fine with that. Just getting a
yeah.
scooter and
Yeah, a little motorbike.
yeah, just riding around Siem Reap.
Yeah, I've seen people taking like motorbike, um, you know, tours, journeys, whatever you want to call it, through like Vietnam. That there's like a big motorbiking culture over there.
Oh
Did you
yeah,
rent a
it's
motorbike over there?
it's huge. I did not, no. Mm-mm.
No.
But I mean, I saw if there's 14 million people in Phnom Penh, and there's like 11 million scooters.
Yep.
They're just everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in Vietnam, did you say you went to some was it limestone caves?
Yeah, in Halong Bay, it was Sung Sok Cave. I think it's one of the biggest in the bay, and there's several, formed over time from the water. But it was incredible. Like I've been to some caves here in Pennsylvania, like out in Center County, Woodward and Penn's Cave, limestone caves that I always thought were impressive. Like they were so small compared to this. I mean, it was just enormous.
Yeah.
Was it just kind of like a walk-through tour, or was there any, like, swimming or diving that they did there?
No, it was just a walkthrough tour. Yeah, I don't know if I'd wanna swim in the bay or any of the rivers over there. They weren't exactly the cleanest, but,
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, that is cool. Was there anything that we didn't touch on in Vietnam that you did?
uh,
I saw you did a floating market. Was that in
that was
Vietnam or
in
was that somewhere?
Thailand. That was in Thailand. Yeah, that was on my very last day. I went to the train market and, one of the floating markets in Thailand. Um,
Yeah.
that was an experience, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's another just like taking a tuk-tuk, I feel like a floating market anywhere in Southeast Asia is very much like that's such a
Yeah.
cultural thing that you, like, have to do, you know?
Yep, yep. It's an experience just to, see how that's done, and it's amazing.
Mhm.
For anyone who hasn't heard of a floating market before, let's kind of explain it. It's like kind of like a market that you'd go through, but they're all in boats, and you kind of
All on
walk from boat to
boats.
boat.
Well, the one
Long.
I was in, like, Sampan, and it sort of just went down the canal, and other boats would kinda hook onto the boat I was on and, like, pull it over, and you can browse what they had to sell, and then there were a few, in the narrow parts of the canal where, like, on either side, everything was just lined up with people selling things, and, they kinda reach right into the boat, and you can buy or sell like that.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like a flea market on the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yep, that's
cool.
a good way to
And
put it.
and there might be a boat that has a bunch of bananas and you are like, "Hey, I want a banana." So you swim up to them or, paddle over to them and they, exchange
Yeah.
banana and yeah.
Food, fish that are just, fresh seafood, beverages, ice cream, uh, clothing, knickknacks, pretty much everything. Like, yeah, kinda anything you want, and if they didn't have it, they can kinda point you in the direction of where you might find it.
Right.
And where was this in Thailand?
It was right outside Bangkok.
Okay.
Yeah. So, going to Thailand now, you flew into Bangkok, correct?
Correct, yeah, from Siem Reap to Bangkok.
And how many days did you spend well, first of all, I know you said Phnom Penh's a pretty large city, but I would assume that Bangkok was the largest city you had seen over there at this point. So, kinda explain getting to Bangkok and what your first impression was, because I know when I landed in Bangkok, I've been to New York City and I've been to very large cities, but the first time I landed in Bangkok, I was just blown away at how big it is and how busy it is.
It's yeah, it's incredibly busy. It's 19 million people. It's by far the biggest city I've ever been in. Uh, I mean, that's over twice as many people as New York City has, which, eh, in everything you'd expect from the big city, the traffic, like, it takes a long time to get anywhere. Uh, I was staying in the Chinatown district in Bangkok, and, after, 5, 6 p.m., you can't even get, like, cars down the street because all the food vendors just come out
Yep.
and line the streets, that if you're not on, like, a scooter or something or on foot, you're not getting through.
Well, yeah, that's why the scooters are so popular over there, and tuk-tuks too, is because they can kinda navigate the busy
Yeah.
streets and kinda weave in and out of traffic. But you've been to Cairo before, and I mean, Cairo's bigger than Bangkok is.
I was in Cairo, but Cairo seems like it was a lot more spread out, or maybe not as
Right, well,
as
yeah,
high as Bangkok. Just seemed a little more, I don't know,
like a
centralized, I guess.
Like a modern big city, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
dense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cairo's big, though. Cairo's got a
Cairo, yeah,
lot of
Cairo is
people.
big. When I think of Cairo, I'm thinking about being out by like the pyramids and I only
Right.
spent a little bit of time in Cairo before I, kind of moved down into Luxor and uh but yeah, I kind of forgot about Cairo.
Yeah. So you get to Bangkok, you fly in. How'd you get to where you were staying, and where were you staying?
I was in a hotel in it was in Chinatown district. Can't even remember what the name of the hotel was, but it was a pretty nice hotel. Like, I mean, all the hotels probably are kind of similar. Like, it had like a rooftop pool and
Uh-huh.
incredible views of the city. Um, and it was just like a it was like, I guess, a small van or a car that took me from the airport to the hotel. And it wasn't I don't think the airport's not terribly far from the city, but it took a long time to get there, just like with traffic and everything. It was a pretty good ride.
Well, I know they'll also scam you that way, where they'll instead of taking you from the airport to your hotel directly, they'll like drive around and then
Sure,
do
yeah,
some
yeah.
circles and and be
Oh,
like,
yeah,
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 you know, that ride took twice as long, so now you owe this much money, which is still cheap, so it doesn't really matter. But because I
yeah.
think that's what they did with us, because I mean, we were driving for a while, but I didn't mind either because you get to see the city and it's really cool. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah,
so
I like traveling.
did you go down to Khao San Road at all, or anywhere down near there?
I honestly, I'm not exactly sure. I was only in Bangkok for, I think, three nights, and
Yeah.
I went to, well, a lot of temples, saw a
Mm-hmm.
lot of Buddhas, and then the one day I went to Ayatea, which that was probably about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive outside of Bangkok.
Yeah. The temples in Bangkok. Did you do Wat Arun and Wat Pho?
Uh, I did Wat Pho with the reclining Buddha.
Yes.
Yeah, and
The big
I
gold.
did yeah, and then I did the Temple of the Gold Buddha. I believe it's called Wat Tram.
Yep.
Uh, it was like 5.5 tons of solid gold. I think they valued it at around $900 million or something like that. That was interesting. Just that they didn't even know it was made out of gold until they tried to move it, and it fell off the crane, and all the plaster came off of it, and underneath was all the gold. But apparently,
Yep.
they did that to when they were at war with Burma,
Mm-hmm.
so that Burma didn't melt it down and take it.
Right. Yep. Yeah, they were trying to hide what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, Waterun is the big white temple. And when I was there, you could actually climb up it. You could climb up to the top.
Yeah, I don't believe I got to Waterroom.
Yeah. Did you go down the Chao Phraya, the river at all?
Yeah, coming back from Ayatea, took a bus to Ayatea and then came back along the river.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Bangkok is just an incredible city. It's to this day probably one of my favorite cities. I know everybody talks about the pollution and stuff, but it's just such a fun place. It's so lively. There's so much going on and there's so much to do. I asked about Khao San Road just because it's such a crazy part of the city. It's everybody calls it the backpacker paradise, and you go down there and it's like Bourbon Street times 1,000.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, I've heard of that, but I didn't get over there.
So you spent how long in Thailand? And was it in Bangkok or you went other places?
So I stayed in Bangkok, but like I did go outside to Ayatea. I think it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from Bangkok, and then I
Yeah.
came back into Bangkok by boat. But aside
Yeah.
from that, no, it was just really in Bangkok. the uh, the Grand Palace and those other couple temples that I mentioned.
And how was the street food in Bangkok comparative to some of the other places you had been?
It was good. I think out of all the street food in Cambodia, I like the best because I've had Thai food here, I've had Vietnamese food here, and although it's different, I still kind of could understand like where the makeup was from the food that we have here to what I was getting there. I've never had Cambodian food, so it was like really different. And but no, yeah, I like the food in Thailand. Like they had pork on a stick that was really, really good. I don't know whatever they breaded it with was, had just the right amount of spice.
Yeah.
I saw a video that you posted where you threw back a handful of bugs. How was that?
You know, I wasn't gonna not eat the bugs, and surprisingly, I liked them more than I thought I would. Like, if you blindfolded me and told me it was Chex Mix, I'd probably believe you because they were really tasty and they were like well done. It wasn't like they were squishy or gooey. Like they're crispy. And that's what they eat as just like a snack food. Yeah,
Yeah.
surprisingly, it was good.
Yeah. Man, I don't know if I could get over the fact that it's a bug. Like, I saw you throw that bat, and I was like, "I don't know how you did that," but you might have to blindfold me.
I mean, they asked like, did I want it spicy? Did I want it medium? Though I was like, well, just do it like medium spice and whatever they put in it in the bag, and they shook everything up. Like it was really good. It's like a bag of chips. You just can't have one. So I had the handful, and then like I finished the bag. So
Oh, nice. Was that the first time you've ever eaten a bug?
intentionally, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's like it's another cultural thing there that, I was always under the assumption that that was something that tourists did, that tourists go there and they're like, "Ooh, I'm gonna be adventurous and, like, eat fried scorpions or bugs or whatever," but the locals actually do eat that stuff also.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah, that was my impression as well. And the night market that I got the bugs at, it I didn't really see many other people, like, from the West there. It seemed like it was all mostly the locals, so I thought I was in
Mhm.
good company and yeah, I wasn't gonna turn it down.
Yeah, the markets, especially the night markets in Thailand, are just such an experience, and they're so cool to just walk around and everything. Um, I mean, tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about, like, the market, like, the market culture there. I mean, how much of that did you kinda do?
I was in markets in Vietnam. Well, I was in one market in Vietnam, yeah, in Saigon. It was incredible. Just a giant flea market. Like I always enjoyed time on Canal Street up in New York City. Uh and they did this put all of that to shame.
Mhm.
Bangkok was the night markets, same thing. And Cambodia, I got to a few markets. And the thing is, like everything that you buy or wear, most of everything is made in Vietnam or Cambodia. Some of it's made in Thailand, but like, I'm looking at some of the stuff, like the clothing that they had and like North Face gear and Under Armour, and I'm like, if it was fake, I really couldn't tell. I mean, they did a good job, but then like what somebody told me is like, all the factories are here and everybody knows somebody that works there, so it wouldn't be unusual for a couple boxes to probably go out the back door. So some of it's probably legit. And
Yeah.
and haggling was a lot of fun. And
Mhm.
one thing that I liked about it, it wasn't like you mentioned Cairo, like vendors in Cairo or Egypt as a whole were like so aggressive. Wasn't like that in Vietnam, Cambodia, or Thailand. It's like,
Right.
they didn't bother you if you didn't want it. They'd kind of make their bid at first, and if you're like nope, nope, then they didn't continue to try to persuade you.
Yeah. Yeah, and even when they're asking you, they're very nice. I mean, it's, yeah, Egypt unfortunately kinda has that stereotype that it's the vendors and stuff there trying to get you to buy stuff are very pushy, and they are.
Oh yeah.
Southeast Asia, they're just nice people. I mean, Egyptian people are very nice too, but I mean, yeah, it's called the land of smiles for a reason. You know, they're just the kindest people.
Yeah, this is true.
What about 7-Elevens? I know that's a big culture over there, and every Westerner that goes over there, they say you have to go to the 7-Eleven over there, which sounds weird to us here because it's just a gas station. But over there, it really is an experience. Did you go to the 7-Elevens over there?
Yeah, there was one right by my hotel, and I had to run in and I had to pick up some deodorant, which was convenient because it was. But yeah, they're everywhere. I guess it's. I'm assuming that like it's like a Thailand company, because I mean they're everywhere in Thailand. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't remember seeing 7-Eleven in Vietnam. Mine of. I know I saw a few in Cambodia, but definitely in Bangkok, they were everywhere.
yeah, they're on every corner almost, and the food in there is surprisingly really good too. I don't know if you know about Toasties, but they'll actually make your sandwiches in there. They'll heat them up for you.
Huh, I did not know that, and yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to try any food there, but
Yeah,
I never thought you'd say that. Unfortunately, I didn't
well,
get to try 7-Eleven food.
yeah. It's an experience, and then just seeing, like, the chips, they have all the Lays over there that are like the Thai Lays, all
yeah,
every
yeah.
flavor you could imagine, you know?
Crickets?
They probably do have cricket Lays, I'm sure they do. Yeah.
Crickets aren't bad.
With the right seasoning.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So, um, overall, I mean, Southeast Asia is one of my favorite parts of the world, and, um, I know that each one of these countries definitely has, they're all amazing, and they're all out of the 3, though, I mean, what was your favorite of the 3 if you had to choose?
Oh, definitely, it was Siem Reap in Cambodia. I think just because it was just so laid back, 250,000 people compared to, the 14 million in Phnom Penh, 19 million in Bangkok, and I wanna say it was maybe like 9 or 10 million in Saigon, like, they were bigger cities, and then to go there where it's just kind of, more of like a small town vibe, I guess, yeah, I enjoyed it,
Yeah,
and plus, it had Angkor Wat, like, a couple miles away, so it was.
right.
Yeah,
Y
that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, not to, like, shit on Thailand or anything, the temples there are incredible, especially Wat Arun, but, you look at those temples and then you look at, like, Angkor Wat, and it's just I mean, Cambodia just has such a rich history and culture, and that complex alone is just I mean, there's a reason it's one of the most visited sites in the world. I mean, right up there with the pyramids.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
looks incredible.
yeah. Arguably, it should be one of the 7 wonders.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't believe that it's not.
7 ancient wonders, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you said so just to go back to Cambodia for a moment, you said you flew from Phnom Penh to Siem Reap?
No, took a bus. It was,
Okay,
5, 6 hours, but it wasn't bad actually. To get to see the countryside outside of Phnom Penh, from there to Siem Reap, it wasn't a bad drive.
okay. Yeah, I was wondering that because I know some people obviously fly, but I know that, like, we looked at taking a bus, and I know some companies are like, "These companies are really great," and then some people are like, "Don't go with this company." You'll break down, and they'll just, like, leave you on the side of the road, so I was just kinda what company did you go with, if you don't mind me
Uh,
asking?
Giant ibis.
Giant Ibis, okay, yeah, that's the big one I think everybody says is one
Yeah,
of the more reputable ones. Yep.
yeah. They had. I saw a bunch of their buses going all over the place. So yeah, I think they're.
Yeah, and if you don't mind me asking, or if you remember, how much was that bus from Phnom Penh to Siem Reap?
I don't know because bought everything kind of like as the package, so I didn't make up
Okay,
my itinerary. It was already set. Like the whole trip was. It was incredibly cheap just for like the base trip was like $1,900. And then it was probably like another $1,200 to add on different things like different excursions and everything to sort of fill the itinerary, which it was full. I think every day I was doing something. I really didn't have like a free day to not do anything.
Yeah. And so that's for all 3 countries is what you're talking
Yeah.
about?
Yep.
And is that including that's not including flights though, right?
That was including the flights. Yeah.
Including the flights, it was 1,300?
Well, 1,900 for the base and then like an extra 1,300 for the excursion. So it was,
Okay.
yeah, like I don't 3,600 total, maybe somewhere around there.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds more yeah, I was like, "Man, the flights alone are" I mean, at least for me, it's been hard to find decent flights even just into
Yeah.
Phnom Penh or Siem Reap. I mean, they're at least 1,500, which isn't terrible, but
And I booked this trip. I booked this trip last year right after I got back from Egypt because it was nice being away in like January and February and like, kind of getting away from the winter. I was like, I really want to go somewhere warm again. And so yeah, it was probably around late February last year when I booked it.
yeah. Hmm.
Awesome. Quick recap for me again on how many days you spent in each country between, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand.
So I was in, I say about a week in each country, but I know that it was about a week in Vietnam. It was a little more than a week in Cambodia, and it was a little less than a week in Thailand.
Mhm.
So I think it was
Okay, and you were
7 days in Vietnam, maybe 9 days in Cambodia because that was with Phnom Penh and Siem Reap, and then it was like 3 nights, 4 days in Thailand. But even like my last day was the day I went to the train market and the floating market, and then like probably headed to the hotel around 6 p.m. that night because my flight was later, and my flight didn't take off to back to Tokyo till like 10:30 at night.
Mhm.
well, it sounds like you packed a whole bunch of stuff in. Did you feel like you had enough time? Obviously you could spend more time and do way more, but did you feel
It wasn't as much time as I would like. I'd like to spend like anywhere from like 10 days to 2 weeks in just like one particular country. I feel that if you can kind of really get the most out of that country in that amount of time, I would have liked to have spent more time in each country. But I think I did most of everything I'd want to do. That if I ever do get the opportunity to go back, I can, kind of take a fine tooth comb and see some of the things that you wouldn't normally go to see maybe the first time you're there.
Yeah. Do you think you'd spend a couple more days in Angkor Wat specifically?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was kind of the idea when we were planning trip planning was to go just to Cambodia and try to spend a good amount of time there. I would like to have done like maybe 2 weeks or something, but um and that's, throughout the country, not just Angkor Wat, but I'd like to
Yeah,
spend at least, 3 or 4 days in Angkor Wat alone because I know it is so big and you could spend days there.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. You can. 3 days probably might not even be enough.
Yeah. Man, I and just the amount of pictures I'm sure I would take.
so many SD cards?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you wanna send us some photos from this trip and, different photos from each country, and so that we'll kinda know what photos are from which country. Obviously, the photos of Angkor Wat we'll know are from Cambodia, but, um, so, any listeners that are interested, everything I saw that you posted, video, photos, all looked amazing, so I'm really happy that you got to do that.
Oh yeah, it was a great trip.
Yeah. So I think we asked you last time, and I guess we'll ask you again, where's your next trip gonna be?
Well, My visa for China was just approved. I should get my passport back sometime this week. So it's gonna be to China, the end of April.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's coming up.
It is. Yeah, I'm trying to get a lot of these, and I'm basically doing that same flight again. It's Chicago to Tokyo to Beijing. So
Okay, you're
yeah,
gonna be a pro.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
awesome.
yeah, we'll have to have you back on again.
Yeah, how long are you gonna be spending there? Do you know yet?
yeah, 2 weeks.
Well,
So
Nice.
the draw is the Great Wall, Terracotta Warriors, the Glass
mhm,
Bridge. So I know starting in Beijing and then ending the trip in Shanghai.
yeah. And how does China compare price wise to like Southeast Asia?
I think it was about the same for the 2 weeks in China as it was for Southeast Asia. It was
Wow.
right around the same price point. And I know the
Yeah.
visa for China was, well, I didn't need a visa for Thailand. The visa for Cambodia was, I don't know if it was 25 or $30, and the visa for Vietnam was relatively cheap too. I think that might have been 25 or $30, and you could do it all online. The visa for China was a little bit more involved, and you have to go to the Chinese embassy depending on what region you live in. Where I'm at, my embassy's in Manhattan. It's just a
Mhm,
really it's a pain to go into Manhattan, to drive into Manhattan, to park in Manhattan. So I went with a third party courier, and but even if you don't use the courier, it's close to $400 just to get the visa for China. But it is good for 10 years. So I don't know. We'll see
yeah.
if I like China. Maybe I'll go back.
Yeah, I feel like China's probably a little more strict than like Southeast Asia. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I've only ever flown through China, but it was an experience that I've talked about before. That's something that I didn't ask you that I'd like to ask is as far as the visa goes, at least for let's say Cambodia, did the tour company take care of that? Did you get that before you went, or because some people say to get it before you go, and then some people say, well, you can get it when you get there. I mean, how did that work?
I I did it before I went, and I did it on my own, but, you can wait till you're there, and you can do it, like, at the border. It was just a lot
Hmm,
easier just to do it before that, so I had no issues. I had it, it was printed out, uh, and,
yeah.
yeah, so, I mean, if I don't know if there's any, one way is easier or better than the other. I think it cost there was no difference in the cost either, whether you did it online or if you did it at the border.
Yeah, I just think I personally would feel better having it before I even get there.
Yeah, 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 just so there's no surprises.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah. Mm.
Awesome. Well, can't wait to hear about, your trip to China upcoming soon.
Yeah.
That'll be fun to have you back on.
Yeah, absolutely. I love to talk about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll be watching. We're big fans of you and we're big fans of your travels and everything and we really appreciate you coming on. You're only the second guest we've ever had that we've had on twice, a returning guest, so
Yeah.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure.
yeah.
Anytime.
And by the way, I haven't pointed this out all episode, but I really like your Bucky's shirt, by the
I
way.
Oh, thank you.
I'm
Where'd you get that from?
This is from Temple, Texas. A
Okay.
friend of mine brought it back when they were in Texas, so it's one of my just kind of relaxing at home shirts.
Yeah, Bucky's is a big deal down here. It's
yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's
I
it's so
I love
funny.
Bucky's.
yeah.
I was gonna say the same thing, but we were like kind of getting into the meat of the episode, and I was like, I don't want to derail us on the topic of Bucky's, but yeah, we do the same thing. Like seeing anyone out in public, it's like, oh, that kid's got a little Bucky shirt on. Yeah, we love Bucky's. Awesome. Well, thanks again. I'll go ahead and wrap us up here. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for listening. That was our conversation with our guest, Matthew Hashuga. We hope that you found the information interesting or useful. Maybe it sparked your interest in traveling to a trip to, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, or all three.
Yeah. Yeah, I've often said Southeast Asia is one of the coolest places in the world that you could go to, and so he really took us on a journey, and it was really awesome talking to him about that.
Yeah, that was awesome. And looking forward to hearing about his trip to China upcoming. So, well, with that, that's it for this week. Thank you guys so much for listening. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Instagram at Temporary Locals Podcast. Jared's on Instagram at Rover_Stover and also on YouTube at Rover Stover. And you can find me, Megan, on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook at Mego Goes Global. And our guest today, Matthew Hashuga, you can find him on Facebook, Matthew, and then Hashuga, Hashuga. And with that,
I'm Jared.
And I'm Megan. Thanks for exploring with us.
And remember to be a local anywhere you go.
Bye.
Bye. Don't leave.